I worked my whole life for one thing, peace. And just when I thought I had it, an old woman from behind my fence walked straight into my backyard, demanded $1,000 to leave, and then slid into my pool like she owned the place. That's the moment my dream turned into a nightmare, the moment I realized some battles come looking for you whether you want them or not. I wasn't some reckless guy who bought a house he couldn't afford. I'd spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder, driving a beat-up car, skipping vacations, pinching every dollar until I could finally buy a modest home in Springfield Heights. Quiet street, leafy trees, polite, but distant neighbors, the kind of place where drama was supposed to mean someone's roses caught fungus. I was the only black guy on the block, so yeah, I felt the weight of it. I had to keep my lawn perfect, my wave friendly, my music low, because God forbid anyone had an excuse to say the neighborhood is changing. I lived unimpeachably, but the real prize, the one that kept me going, was the backyard. My pool. Kidney-shaped, crystal clear, surrounded by a tall wooden fence and a patio I'd worked my hands raw to make perfect. That was my sanctuary. A place where I could finally exhale. For one summer, it felt like everything I sacrificed had paid off. Then came the stairs. At first, I thought I imagined it like a curtain twitching in the upstairs window of the house behind mine. But it kept happening. I'd skim leaves from the water, look up, and there she was. Linda Crawford. 60, something bleach blonde hair molded into a helmet, a permanent scowl like she'd been sucking lemons for decades. The first words she ever spoke to me weren't hello. They were, "You're cutting that hedge too low, you'll kill the roots." No smile, no welcome. Just a command from her window, like she was queen of the block. I laughed it off, smiled, tried to play the polite ambassador I'd trained myself to be. But the feeling of being watched never left. And then, on one blistering July afternoon, I heard my side gate click open. I knew I'd latched it that morning. I turned around with the pool skimmer in my hand, and there she was standing on my patio in a faded floral swimsuit and a flimsy white cover-up, hands on her hips, surveying everything I owned like she was at an auction. "This is a nice setup," she said like she'd been invited. Then she looked me up and down, curled her lip, and dropped the bomb. An establishment of this quality shouldn't have to be tainted by your kind of aesthetic. It brings down the whole atmosphere. My chest went tight. I asked her calmly to leave. That's when she smirked, sat down in one of my lounge chairs, and delivered her demand. $1,000. Cash would be preferable. "You pay me, and I'll leave and tolerate your presence. For now." I couldn't even process it. She had broken into my yard, insulted me with racist garbage, and was now trying to extort me. I told her no. She sighed, stood up, and God help me slid right into my pool. "Well," she said, floating on her back with that smug grin, "I think I'll wait here for my payment." My sanctuary shattered. I gripped the skimmer so hard my knuckles turned white. But I didn't yell. I knew how that story would play out. Angry black man threatens frail old lady. So I turned, walked inside, locked the door, and called 911. I thought justice was coming. Instead, when the cops arrived, she put on the performance of a lifetime. Claimed she was overheated, faint, wandered into my yard by mistake, and that I screamed and threatened her. And they bought it. Right in front of me. They told me it was a civil matter. Told me to calm down. Suggested I bring her lemonade. I was the one who called. I was the one whose property was invaded. And yet, I was treated like the problem. That night, sitting alone at my kitchen table, I felt crushed. Maybe I should just sell the house, walk away. Maybe I was foolish to think I could ever truly belong here. But then something hardened inside me. If the system wouldn't help me, I'd make my own justice. They wanted me to de-escalate, fine. I'd de-escalate in the most theatrical way possible. The next day, I drove to the store, bought blocks of dry ice and a black industrial bucket. At home, I smashed the ice into jagged pieces, dropped them into the bucket, watched the smoke curl out like a mad scientist's experiment. And then I stepped outside, bucket in hand. Linda was still in my pool, sunning herself like a queen. She saw the smoke. Her eyes widened. "What is that?" she demanded. I kept my face blank, my voice low. "Last chance. Get out of my pool." She didn't move, so I tipped the bucket. The chunks hissed and bubbled, white smoke exploding across the water, rolling over the patio like a horror movie. Linda screamed pure terror. She thrashed, convinced I was trying to melt her alive. I just stood there calm as stone, pouring the rest in. The fog was so thick it spilled over the fence, and right on cue the cops came roaring back. They stormed through my gate with guns drawn, shouting for me to get on the ground. Linda scrambled out of the pool, sobbing, accusing me of trying to kill her. They didn't hesitate, slammed me to the patio, cuffed me, dragged me past my neighbors' gawking faces. I'd become the monster in their story, exactly as planned. In the cell that night, I made my one phone call, to James Walker, a lawyer I barely knew but trusted. I told him everything, and here's the twist: my entire backyard was under 24/7 surveillance. Cameras caught it all. Linda opening my gate, calling me your kind, demanding $1,000, refusing to leave even me, calmly dialing 911 before the cops dismissed me. And the pool water just fizzy from CO2, completely harmless. James worked fast. Filed motions, secured the footage, subpoenaed the 911 call and police body cams. When the DA saw the evidence, their case crumbled. Linda wasn't a victim. She was a serial manipulator with a history of bogus lawsuits against neighbors. She hadn't just lied. She'd committed trespassing, extortion, and filed a false police report. The charges against me were dropped. The investigation turned on her, and when we sued for malicious prosecution and defamation, her lawyer folded. Settlement in the 6 figures. Public apology printed in the Sunday paper. Permanent restraining order. And a for sale sign on her lawn within weeks. The last time I saw Linda, she was standing in her driveway watching movers carry out her furniture. No smug grin, no helmet hair perfect in the sunlight. Just a bitter, defeated figure slipping out of a neighborhood she no longer controlled. That was the day I stood on my patio, looked at my pool. The same pool that had been invaded, tainted, turned into a battlefield, and felt something I hadn't in months. Real peace. Not because it was handed to me, but because I fought tooth and nail to reclaim it. Sometimes you don't wait for justice, you make it.